Picture this. Earth is 4.5 billion years old today. The oldest humans started existing 7 million years ago. Modern humans? 300,000 years ago. Now do the math. Who occupied planet Earth before humans came into existence? Was it empty? Perhaps we would have agreed on that, except that the Silurian hypothesis came into play. In 2018, two scientists teamed up to make the world question all they knew about Earth's history. With a mind-boggling proposal, they fearlessly posed the big question. Was there an ancient civilization before us? What if Earth wasn't home to just one advanced civilization, but many? And if there were others, what if all traces have been wiped away? We will find out together in this new episode of Secret Origins. Welcome. For centuries, we have thought of ourselves as unique, the pinnacle of evolution. While this belief seems to hold water, the Silurian hypothesis suggests otherwise. First proposed in 2018 by scientists Adam Frank and Gavin A. Schmidt, this idea was published in a paper titled The Silurian Hypothesis. Would it be possible to detect an industrial civilization in the geological record? The paper suggests that not only did an advanced breed exist before us, but geological processes must have erased all evidence of their existence. What started as a mere idea of civilization before us quickly transformed into concerning questions about their remains. Think about it. Imagine that the whole of humanity disappears today. How long would it take for all evidence of our existence to follow suit? Scientists peg it at a few thousand years. Our formidable skyscrapers would crumble, plastics would degrade, even our radioactive waste would fade. If all traces of our seemingly magnificent presence could disappear in a few thousand years, what do you think happened to the civilizations before us? Could we humans just be the latest chapter in a much older story? But before we answer that, where did the name Silurian come from? Enter the Silurian period. About 443 to 419 million years ago, in the third and shortest period of the Paleozoic era, scientists believed that life existed in Earth's oceans. However, there was zero evidence of intelligent life. To add to that, astrophysicist Adam Frank and climate scientist Gavin Schmidt thought it would be nice to pass a wink to Doctor Who.
Remnant of a bygone age on planet Earth.
Remember that sci-fi series where the fictional Silurians were an advanced reptilian species that lived before humans? Yes, that's them. Combining the idea of whether an ancient civilization lived before humans, plus the theory of life existing in the far Silurian period, the Silurian hypothesis began to make sense.
This land is ours. We lived here long before the apes.
But Frank and Schmidt's paper didn't stop there. Their thought experiment explored whether such ancient civilizations left any recognizable traces of their existence. Their conclusion? Probably not. Why, you ask? It's because geological processes like plate tectonics, erosion, and fossilization are so powerful that they could erase all physical evidence of an ancient society. Frank and Schmidt argued that instead of looking for a smoky Silurian picture or any other absurd physical proof, we better start searching for chemical fingerprints in the Earth's crust. And for a generation of humans with trust issues, this can be hard to do. Imagine abandoning your search for actual lizard folks to focus on anomalies in the carbon cycle. But in a short while, you'll see why these scientists thought that this would be the best approach. Did you know that planet Earth is ever restless? Like a string of hormonal mood swings, Earth has a dynamic nature that leaves both archaeologists and geologists in wonder. Here is why. Today's oceans can become tomorrow's mountains, and the mountains you see today could later become habitable residential areas for humans. The Earth is constantly reshaping its surface and changing its geological history. And she does this through geological processes, erosion, tectonics, volcanism, fossilization, you name it. Let's take plate tectonics, for instance. Earth's crust is made of plates that move slowly, collide, and sink into areas called subduction zones. That is far beneath the surface you are currently standing on. Our planet is having a makeover, but it's so slow you can't feel a thing. However, over millions of years, the impact of this process is seen. Gradually, Earth's crust becomes recycled, destroying any evidence of ancient structures or cities that may have existed. That's right, this same slow process is currently ongoing to wipe out proof of our existence millions of years from now. You don't believe it? Then how come the oldest oceanic crust on Earth is about 200 million years old? Think about it. Even on land, we watch the forces of erosion gradually wear down mountains and bury valleys. Before our eyes, natural forces like water and wind work to reshape Earth's surface year after year. And when it's neither plate tectonics nor erosion, fossilization takes the lead. Under the relentless pressure of nature, even concrete and metal degrade. So, what is left behind? In the rocks presently available to us, only a fraction of Earth's history is preserved within. With such geological processes constantly repeating themselves, there is a high chance that entire eras have been wiped clean. If an advanced civilization did exist millions of years ago, its machines, roads, and skyscrapers would have been ground into dust and redistributed across the planet. But if all evidence of an ancient industrialized society has been wiped off, what do Frank and Schmidt's thought experiments rely on? Since we agree on the fact that geological processes must have eliminated physical proof of their existence, the scientists played on the kind of evidence that cannot be wiped away. Non-physical explanations. When the desirable is not available, the available becomes desirable. This is the theory Frank and Schmidt held close as they drafted their paper. If direct evidence like artifacts or structures used by Silurians have been obliterated by natural processes, how about chemical fingerprints? Surely chemical signatures embedded in the Earth's crust could serve as subtle indicators of past industrial activities, couldn't it? Take, for example, abnormal isotopic ratios. If an industrialized civilization did occupy the Earth before us, they must have engaged in industrial processes like fossil fuel combustion. And if they did, it would have altered the natural level of carbon isotopes. Carbon-12 would become significantly higher than carbon-13. And where else to find such anomalies than the sedimented layers of Earth's crust? And if the ancient civilizations did use nitrogen-based fertilizers for their farms, that is, if we assume they did farm, there would also be anomalies in nitrogen-15 levels. These abnormal levels within the Earth's crust might point to the possibility of synthetic fertilizer production long before humans came to be. But this is not the only way suggested by the curious scientists. Frank and Schmidt took the Silurian hypothesis a notch higher when they stopped to ask, what if the ancient society fought nuclear wars too? Wait, what? That's pushing the boundaries for a civilization that we aren't sure of their existence to start with. But imagine that this advanced society did create nuclear weapons. If they did, then there could be radiological evidence lurking beneath Earth's surface as well. How so? The answer lies in radioactive isotopes. If nuclear reactions were indeed used by the Silurians for energy production or the production of weapons, there would be traces of radioactive isotopes. Take, for example, plutonium-244 and iodine-129 have extremely long half-lives and are not commonly found in nature. If scientists could detect their presence in geological layers, voila, we would be onto evidence of past nuclear technology use. But if scientists still missed such evidence, Frank and Schmidt had one more up their sleeves. What if the industrial civilization burned fossil fuels so much that they released excess amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere? In turn, global warming happened. Hard to believe, right? However, The scientists posed as many absurd angles as they could to find traces of an advanced society that existed millions of years before humans. But while these suggested tests show the possibility of past industrial activity, there is a twist. Even natural processes can produce similar evidence. For example, volcanic eruptions can send massive amounts of carbon dioxide spiraling into the atmosphere. This could distort carbon isotope ratios as well. A good example of this is the Permian-Triassic extinction event that took place over 250 million years ago. In the blink of an eye, a massive volcano eruption led to global warming and ocean acidification. So, before you blame ancient global warming on the Silurians, consider the natural events that have also occurred within that period. In the same shoes, we know how exciting the idea of a past civilization fighting nuclear wars sounded. Imagine lizard folks all guarded on their reptilian armor, ready to shoot down an enemy lizard country. It's the perfect Doctor Who's reincarnation. But as interesting as that sounds, it might not be the case. Nearly 2 billion years ago, the Oklo natural nuclear reactors also occurred in the Oklo region of Gabon, West Africa. Although it is the first, and so far the last of its kind, astrophysicists and scientists have used it to counter the Silurian hypothesis. Even if traces of radiological evidence from past industrialized societies were found today, it might be discounted to stem from natural nuclear processes, just like the one in Oklo. Seeing that all possible tests to prove the existence of an ancient civilization have been countered, the Silurian hypothesis buddies whipped out their last card. The Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum. Also called the PETM for short, this event occurred approximately 56 million years ago. To date, it is known as one of the most extreme global warming events in Earth's history, and for good reason. For thousands of years, global temperatures rose by 5 to 8 degrees Celsius and reached 20 degrees at the North Pole. The warming lasted over 200,000 years, releasing massive amounts of carbon into the atmosphere and causing profound environmental changes. This sparked the big question. Since the oldest humans only started existing about 7 million years ago, who or what released so much carbon into the atmosphere enough to cause the PETM? Could it be the same advanced civilization proposed in the Silurian hypothesis? This, here, was Frank and Schmidt's last card. Think about it. In the modern Anthropocene era, industrial human activity has caused a spike in carbon emissions. This has led to non-stop warnings from the government about a potential global warming event. If humans can release as much carbon into the atmosphere as the planet witnessed 56 million years ago, what is the guarantee that the PETM emission was not done by another industrial civilization like us? What if the Silurians lived a life as full as ours? Did they truly cause the PETM? Or that event is not enough proof of an advanced society before us? You guessed right. It isn't. Following Frank and Schmidt's paper, other scientists have since discredited the ancient civilization theory as the cause of the PETM. The first solid reason is that natural processes also match the evidence. The release of carbon could be traced to volcanic activity, methane hydrate destabilization, or even organic carbon release. Secondly, there is no archaeological or fossil evidence. Although we established that geological processes could have wiped away the last pieces of artifacts or fossils left by the Silurians, nothing was found in the Earth's crust corresponding to the PETM period. Lastly, the timing of carbon released during the PETM was far slower than the rate of carbon emissions caused by human activity. If the ancient breed were as advanced as the theory claimed, the carbon emissions rate would be alike. Instead, the rate of carbon released during the PETM resembles that of a natural, gradual process. With these counter-arguments, down went the last card from the founders of the Silurian hypothesis. However, if the PETM event is not enough pointer to an advanced society existing before humans, Other indicators still exist. Enter the dinosaurs. For years, the scientific community assumed that dinosaurs were nothing more than ferocious, lumbering creatures with little intelligence. But what if these species are far more intelligent and industrialized than we give them credit for? At first, the focus was on the Stegosaurus. Although gigantic in physique, its brain was so small that the entire species was written off as lacking intelligence. But this changed with recent studies. In 2021, one man dared to look beyond the general appraisal of dinosaurs. Paleontologist Diego Pol researched the Maiasaura species, and the results were astonishing. These species exhibited surprising intelligence and social behavior. For instance, the Maiasaura species returned to the same nesting sites year after year. This not only proved that they had a memory, but also the ability to assess the environment's comfort for their offspring. But this is not all. Pol's research also proved that the Maiasaura communities worked hand in hand to improve their living. While the males protected the nesting females and eggs, younger dinosaurs foraged for food. No doubt, this level of social organization mirrors behaviors seen in modern-day animals. They were advanced in their own way. But if you think the Maiasaura species are the closest bet to the ancient civilization hinted by the Silurian hypothesis, think again. Among all dinosaurs, the Troodon stands out as the strongest contender for advanced intelligence. For starters, this small bird-like dinosaur had a brain-to-body ratio higher than most of its contemporaries. Add to that, paleontologists deduced that its binocular vision and grasping hands could mean that the species was familiar with complex tasks like cooperative hunting. For an icing on the cake, researchers speculate that if the asteroid impact 66 million years ago had not wiped out the dinosaurs, perhaps the Troodon species might have evolved into more intelligent forms, perhaps even more intelligent than humans. To this effect, paleontologist Dale Russell quickly cooked up the dinosauroid, a theoretical evolution of Troodon into a humanoid-like creature capable of building machines and transforming culture one dinosaur at a time. How bizarre is that? Very bizarre. Although it was a speculative idea, Russell's theory flares up an interesting possibility. Could other undiscovered dinosaur species have reached a higher organizational level beyond that of the Troodon? If dinosaurs like the Troodon showed advanced intelligence, could they have laid the foundation for a civilization by themselves? Again, the lack of direct evidence in the form of tools, buildings, or artifacts does us no good. However, the Silurian hypothesis does not fail to push this idea further. If an advanced dinosaur civilization did exist, its remnants might be screaming for help as faint isotopic signatures in the geological record. It might surprise you, but what if the ancient civilization is an entity we've been overlooking over the years? Over 2 decades ago, a Japanese biologist named Toshituki Nakagaki conducted an experiment that left scientific jaws hanging in shock. The biologist placed a slime mold and a sugar cube in a maze. At first, both entities were at the far ends of the maze. In a few hours, the mold grew its threads through the maze, searching and rerouting itself until it reached the sugar. With that experiment, fungi rivaled the intelligence level of some animals, despite lacking a brain. This poses the question, could fungi have been the footing for an ancient intelligence system? If yes, their civilization might have thrived quietly, leaving no traces to be found. The list goes on. If we dare to explore some more, we might find that even the pyramids and their excellent structures are more of a question than an answer. Although agreed to have been built by the Egyptians, paleontologists beg to differ. Take a look at the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. Now look at Chichen Itza Pyramid. Lastly, the Great Pyramid of Cholula in Mexico. What do you notice? All 3 pyramids were built thousands of years apart and are deduced to be built by the ancient people of each city. However, the recurrent style and patterns of these structures situated oceans apart begs the thought, did an advanced civilization build them even before humans existed? We are just as curious. Once again, the Silurian hypothesis leaves us wondering, was there an ancient industrial civilization before us? In what form did they come? As the PETM, Trojan dinosaurs, the overlooked fungi, or the true architects of the pyramid? More importantly, are these societies all lost to geological processes? Or if we look a bit closer, their chemical fingerprints would call out to us? What do you think? If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more mysteries like this one. Keep your minds open, and until we meet again.